occupying the streets of our community is a mob tyrant whose name dances between the mouths of our children every second. His legacy is as daunting as the insects found through the corners of our kitchen cupboards. I am the themondli, and I'm here to talk to you and your best friend about Al Capone, a mob tyrant who tore streets apart. A ruthless mob called the 5 Points Gang, steered by Johnny Torrio, had every corner of Chicago on lockdown. This man Torrio cashed out his 401ks and shipped his baby powder cream puff looking ass back to Italy before he handed the entire gang over to Al Capone, a bloodthirsty young man whose air of mystique gained him respect and honor among his peers and the elites. What many critics overlooked about Al Capone was how hard he worked on his way to the throne. He boxed one of the weakest rival gang members to sleep. He then folded an innocent civilian with a catastrophic bullet that took his breath away. Thereafter, he turned a stranger the past tense after his hands ran the fades on the former's right-hand man. The more life subscriptions Al Capone cancelled, the more enemies it made in the excruciating heat of battle. He was soon renamed Scarface after he survived the fatal stabbing to the right side of his face at the Harvard Inn. Within a small glimpse of the abyss, Scarface had the entire country moonwalking above his shoulders. Man's formidable drip game had ladies swarming over his presence like bees to a grain of pollen near the juicy vineyards. His fedora was a tongue-dripping vortex that captivated fashion, Western media, and the R-rated movie industry. Suddenly, a mystic figure with infinite aura emerged from the putrid trenches of Chicago. With a solid empire and a seven-figure check on his name, his momentum shook the landscape within the concavity of his palms. His name was Bugs Moran, the supreme leader of the North Side Gang, who wanted Scarface on a billboard as an advert for his obituary. The interception of Bugs Moran in Scarface's life turned both men's journeys into walking coffins when the U.S. enforced a prohibition law, which allowed nobody to buy, produce, sell, nor trade alcohol to anyone. This was done to eliminate pre-existing social issues such as domestic abuse and child abandonment. However, matters among families in the US immediately became worse after this law ignited organized crime through bootlegging. Moran lost his nerve on Scarface and the 5 Points Gang, who banked a record $100 million of bootlegging and prostitution alone. The more water Scarface stirred for fish to be caught, the less compelling Moran's public spectacles were. So the cameraman panned us to the screen where the latter sent a telegram on the North Side group chat, where he called for an urgent meeting near Pennywise's studio booth. He stood 10 toes near his mobsters at the second tier round table of black Air Force energy. He informed them that Scarface's addy is just like his shoreline. It was compromised. Likewise, Moran assigned them to squad wipe Scarface and his gang from existence. This makes it easier for them to retrieve an encrypted code, which unlocks undercover street routes that enable them to break bank and generational curses. Soon after, they stormed Capone's headquarters, disguised as his men, and tore everything apart.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's doing this! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
They successfully retrieved the code and gave their direction a dark, twisted turn. One of Moran's henchmen, who spied on their arch-rival's undercover lookout, horrifically reported that Scarface survived and was left traumatized by their fatal ambush the previous night. Ultimately, Scarface refused to abandon his loved ones, so he worked consistently so that they were well taken care of. Owing to this, his survival was a living testament of the grit, resilience, and strong willpower people in Chicago had in the early 20th century. Thus, his successful health recovery made him the most polarizing figure of the 20th century. On the other hand, Bugs Moran's failed assassination attempt towards Scarface was a humiliating display of his greed, impatience, indecisiveness, lack of endurance, and self-control. This was heavily supported by Bugs Moran being incarcerated 3 times before he turned 21. I only go to my nearest police station to get documents certified, but this croaking-bush, clear jawline looking freak is out here playing hide and go seek with the cops in real time. These 3 ain't got nothing on him. How psychopathic could one like him ever be? Scarface wanted the exact same thing when he and the 5 Points gang made Bugs Moran the ultimate target. As a result, the gang of the latter no longer had a half a dozen years, but less than 3. However, Bugs Moran's day coincided with these missions, so he faced a moral dilemma that ended up as an atrocious mess for him. Then the cameraman panned us back to the scene where it all culminated at a solitary confined garage during Valentine's Day, nearly 10 months before the Great Depression. Moran's men, strapped with the key to their desired treasures, burst into the scene and successfully reached the escape room that needed the code. Moran, who arrived afterwards, was reluctant to join them, but his phone vibrated expeditiously. The cameraman panned to him, who was breathtaking by his IG snaps his baddie sent to him. Men, we must equip our girls against simps like Moran psychologically. This man was a walking advisory explicit sign just by how he reacted to his baddie snaps. Meanwhile, his henchmen were clueless and failed to clock the code combination, so Simp Moran was needed to guide them through since he was a tactical specialist. But his baddie was on demon timing, spamming him with the most stunning pictures of herself that braced guard screen Earth on guard. Oh my. Simp Moran skedaddled from the garage and left these henchmen with daddy issues after he abandoned them just for a date? Bro, girls come and go, but your homie's always right with you. How did you not get the memo? Oh yeah, I forgot. The policeman who caught Moran's henchman red-handed took it away from him with his undying fidelity. Simp Moran should have been more careful with his diction. Likewise, the policeman lined his henchmen up against the barren white wall with their hands up, who refused to snitch on where the code was hidden. Them niggas were built different because they stood on business for real.
Now we are about to stand on business. Now we are about to stand on business.
The policeman wasted no time, cupped up their DBL Drizzy looking clocks and blew Moran's men to sleep. They got their O.J. Simpson looking asses to stepping in the name of the streets, which held the city hostage. The next day, Shannon Sharp took his set and rushed to Simp Moran's house for the tea. Eventually, he found the former's baddie there on her own after he fled Chicago from the feds. The feds? The baddie said. That wasn't no feds. Now, my man Shannon Sharp was confused and pressed her for a breakdown. After which she responded, I cleaned out my man's bank account and paid Scarface's men to dress up as feds to bootleg Moran's men into permanent retirement from life. I did this so that their gangs fall apart and that both men rot in prison from their crimes. Shannon Sharp did not believe his eyes when he realized that she set both men up so that their empires come crashing down. Not only so, she revealed that 1929 was the year of truth. Sounds similar? Because that same year, the Great Depression occurred. Both men became broke and were never the same ever again. Damn, my biggest takeaway from this is that the more you hyper-pedestalize the girl or woman you love, the more she will resent you and destroy everything you hold dear in your life. Unless she's hoodlum blatantly, then I perfectly understand. Until then, everyone, I am themondli, and this is goodbye.